Hey guys, today on Watch with Poppy we're going to be talking about the pilot episode of Do No Harm. So right off the bat, I'm going to go ahead and eat a little crow because I don't know, when I first heard about this show, I just really was just kind of like, yeah, it didn't sound so great to me. I wasn't going to watch it, but then I told myself, okay, I'm going to watch at least the pilot episode and then I'll make a decision after that. But I must say that I actually did enjoy the pilot. And one of the best things about this pilot episode that I did not realize was that freaking Felicia Rashad is in this show, you guys. Cosby Mom. I mean, come on. Claire Huxtable. That alone causes me to want to keep watching just for her. So this show is about a Dr. Jason Cole. Jason seems like a nice guy. He's a surgeon. He seems like he's good at his job. The only problem is that he has dissociative identity order. So from 8:25 in the morning until 8:25 at night, he is Dr. Jason Cole. And then at 8:25 at night, a different identity takes over his body. And that identity's name is Ian. And Ian is kind of an ass, basically. And it sounds like this is something that Jason has struggled with for a long time. So for years now, what he's been doing is he sedates himself at night to stop Ian from taking over his body. So it's been many years since he's allowed Ian to kind of be free and do what he wants to do. When he's at the hospital one day, we get that there's a guy at the hospital that works with him in developing this drug that he takes every night to sedate himself. So throughout the episode, you see that he's wearing this watch that's got like a timer on it to like remind him when he's getting too close to 8:25. And what happens is, it turns out that it's his birthday, and there's another doctor at the hospital who you can tell he's really attracted to, and her name is Lena, and she invites him out for drinks. But of course, everybody at the hospital knows that Dr. Cole doesn't work at night. He kind of has this cover that he's doing at the hospital by saying that he has diabetes, and it gets really bad in the evening, so he schedules all of his work during the day, and everybody knows that he doesn't go out at night. So she invites him out for drinks, and it kind of throws him a little, and he decides to play it really close with the timeline. And so he goes out to have drinks with her, and he still has enough time to get back home, but what happens is he starts to feel like Ian is coming out sooner than he should. So he tries to race home. He's got the drug that he takes every night, and he takes it, and nothing happens. The next thing you see is he wakes up in this hotel bed, and he's surrounded by like naked women. And like he gets up and he like walks out into this hotel suite, and there's like drunk people who, they obviously was like the party of the century. People are like still laid out on the floor like asleep. And he looks down at his arms, and written on his arms it says happy birthday. And then he also sees these flashes where he sees Ian's face and he sees the look in his eyes, and he gets that Ian is mad because it's been years since Dr. Cole has let him come out. So, you know, he just basically wreaked some havoc. He did drugs, he did all kinds of crazy things. So he goes to the hospital, he's freaking out, he goes to talk to the guy who's been helping him develop this drug, and after some tests, the guy tells him, look, your body has built up an immunity to the drug. I think it's been like 5 years since he's been taking it. So basically that means he's immune to it, which means he can't sedate himself anymore, which of course is a problem. So his friend at the hospital was like, look, I'll work on something new, but you've got to figure out what you're going to do tonight. So he jumps in a cab and basically tells him, take me as far away as you can. And he ends up like out in the boondocks, like at some little motel. He's really kind of smart about it. Like he takes his wallet and his keys and his cell phone, and he has those sent back to the hospital so that, you know, when Ian wakes up, he won't have any money or anything like that. But the problem is that he forgets to empty his pockets. So Lena and he had been talking, the doctor at the hospital that he's interested in, they'd been kind of talking earlier, and she notices that something's obviously going on with him, and she gives him her phone number and tells him, look, if you need to talk, call me. Well, he leaves that in his pocket. One really sad part about the whole motel thing is he gets in the shower, and as he's in the shower, he starts to feel like he's changing, and he tries to write, like on the shower door, he tries to write do no harm, which of course is the title of this show. Almost like a message to Ian to say, please don't hurt anyone. But Ian's not having it. So when he changes, Ian realizes he doesn't have any money and he's pissed. But as he's going through his pockets, he finds Lena's phone number. So he calls Lena and gets her to come out to this motel. Now, of course, Lena and Dr. Cole, you know, have been flirting quite a lot. So, you know, she's excited. But when she gets there, you know, here we have just loser man. Ian, like I said, he's an ass. In the end, we get that he was you know, really aggressive with her and a little rough. And then when she was just like, stop, he laughed at her. Like, he basically just made her feel horrible, and she left. So he goes back to the hospital the next day, and his friend at the hospital says, look, there's a lockdown room downstairs. I can put you in there, and then I can unlock the door in the morning. Which I thought was a great idea, right? But the problem is, there's this patient that he had operated on, and he finds out that her husband has actually been, like, abusing her, and this is how she got hurt. And so, again, his watch is counting down, but he's determined that he's gonna help this woman, and so he lets himself change without getting locked down. But he goes to the house. This is what he does. He goes to this woman's house because her husband is a police officer, and he knocks on the door, and the guy comes out, and he tells the guy, like, you need to call and you need to turn yourself in for what you did to your wife. You have 1 minute. And the guy's like, what are you talking about? Like, get off my porch. And he's like, look, you've got 30 seconds. You need to hurry up, because in 30 seconds you're not gonna like who I am. Of course, the guy doesn't listen. The minute is up. He changes into Ian. Meanwhile, this guy is like started to hit him, and as Ian comes out, he's just like, are we fighting? And so he beats the heck out of this guy and forces him, you know, to call and confess what he did to his wife. But then Ian gets this like beep, because doctors still carry beepers in this day and age, and it says that he has surgery. And so Ian's all excited, like, yeah, we're gonna go operate on somebody, even though he is not a surgeon. He does not have the skills of a surgeon. So he goes to the hospital because he's evil, and he's gonna just like kill this guy and ruin Jason's career. That's his goal. But when he gets there and it's time to operate, because Dr. Cole is a diabetic, or that's what he's been telling everyone, obviously, to cover, he has to test his blood glucose level before operating. So he goes to test it, and he fails the test, and everyone freaks out because his levels are really high, and they give him an injection of insulin, which causes him to pass out. And it turns out that Jason did it on purpose. He scheduled the surgery on purpose because he knew that Ian would go to try to do it. He knew he would have to test his glucose levels, and he knew he would fail, and that they would give him insulin, which would knock him out. So he was, you know, kind of smart. Then, of course, he sees Lena at one point, and she's just like traumatized, like, don't ever talk to me again. And he's like, what happened? And he apologizes to her and tries to explain, like, look, that wasn't me. I don't even remember anything that happened. But he's not really telling her what's going on, of course. So I'm hoping maybe eventually he will do that. By this point, he's starting to realize that he's got to come up with some sort of plan, because every night Ian is going to get the chance to come out. And so he and this doctor that he's been working with at the hospital, they talk, and he tells him, look, I want to figure out a way to kill him. I don't want to just find a new drug that's going to sedate him and put him down. We need to figure out how to kill him. And this doctor tells him, like, look, we can do it, but it's going to take some time. So what are you going to do until then? And so he kind of says, look, I'm just going to let him live. That's what I'm going to do. I'm going to try to make a deal with him and make him think that everything's okay, and then we're going to kill him. So Jason records a message for Ian on the computer, and that night you see Ian watching the message. And on it, Jason is telling him, like, look, I'm going to let you free. I'm going to let you live your life. You let me live my life, and we'll try to see if we can kind of work this out together. There's one point, too, when he realizes that the drug doesn't work and Ian is free, that he goes into his office. This was very cryptic. He opens up his safe, he pulls out this cell phone, and he calls somebody named Olivia. And then later, we see him go visit her. From that meeting, we get that he and Olivia were in a relationship, and they were actually going to get married. And, like, you could just even tell from her, like, demeanor and the way she acted when he was there, that she's, like, still traumatized by what happened. And she made this comment, too, about the fact that, you know, she was in love with him, but that when Ian would come out, Ian was very angry because he wanted her to be in love with him more than she was in love with Jason. So it was like she tried to deal with both of them at the same time, which is kind of crazy. How are you in a relationship with somebody who is somebody different half of the day? I'm in love with half of you, but the other half, not so much. So that was kind of crazy. The kind of kicker at the end, though, is that Ian goes to see her, but he's like, you know, hiding in the bushes one morning, and he sees her come out of the house to get the paper, and this little boy comes out. And you get that they're kind of insinuating that this little boy is their son, that she's hidden this fact from him. So I'm sure we'll be hearing more about that. So like I said, you guys, I really enjoyed this, and I was not expecting to. Like, I was not, like, after seeing the preview, I was just kind of like, no, that doesn't seem like it's for me. But I watched it, and it was good, and I will watch at least one more episode to kind of get a feel for where they're gonna go with it. Okay, guys, thanks for watching. Don't forget that I do tons of other recaps and reviews. Make sure you check those out, and I will see you again soon. Bye. Has to test his blood glucose. He has to test his blood glucose level. I didn't say it. he has to test his blood glucose